30 deadline live stream. Now, of course, if you're just tuning in right now, you haven't missed the deadline. I know it is 11:50 right now UK time, but the deadline is thankfully 1:30 p.m. UK time. So we still got just under 2 hours until the deadline, and hopefully on today's stream we can cover off all of those important topics, talk about whether Haaland's going to start or not, whether you should keep or sell him, whether we should all be buying Liverpool players right now, because that seems the trend going into this deadline. Are Spurs going to continue to be absolutely woeful and Liverpool are going to score 5 or 6 goals? Or is it going to be a battle of two pretty bang average teams right now in the form of Liverpool and Spurs? Obviously, we'll talk about my team. Still haven't made a move. Don't know if I actually will make a move. And more importantly, the most important thing, answering all of your questions in the chat. So please do let me know where you're tuning in from in the world. What are you up to? Have you made your moves already? Who's your captain? Please try and let me know as much as you possibly can. And of course, we're running some polls throughout the chat just to see where everybody's headspace is at right now. Who's keeping Haaland? Who's selling? What the captains are. Magic Water, hope you're doing well, mate. I can see you in the chat. Immortal Tretnik, Pieter Jacket, Anton, Mia Leach, Ballers, X8. Hope you guys are all doing well. I can see we've got some stuff in the chat already with terms of the questions, so we'll be sure to get to them. But of course, with today's deadline, it is quite an important one, it feels like right now, with a big kind of intersection in terms of the blank game week of 31, people trying to understand what chip strategy you use. It feels like everybody's in that position right now where it feels like if you get it wrong, it could be really wrong. So I just want to make sure that people are in a position right now where you understand that if you make your move and it's wrong, it isn't going to ruin your season. But it does feel like the game week where if you get it right, this could be the week where your rank really does improve significantly. For example, like a Mo Salah as your captain at less than 10% owned. If that was to go off, then that is seriously going to improve your rank. But I'll be interested to see how many people are buying Mo Salah. Scott, as always, mate, appreciate the super chat. Far too generous as always, and good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Let's see what you got going on. And I'll remind myself of the fixtures as well. Apologies. Just trying to get up my screen in a minute just to get a reminder of everything. So, first up, Kelleher in goal. Absolutely fine with that home game against Wolves. Van Dijk, perfectly good. Gabriel, of course, good. Senesi, fine against Burnley. I do think Burnley will make that difficult for them. I think there'll be goals in that game, but I do think altogether that is going to be a good fixture for you with Senesi. Mbeumo, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, Dango, great. Then a front three of Thiago, Ekitike and João Pedro. Bench includes Harry Wilson. Richards are a really good home game. 1 free transfer, 5.3 million in the bank. Advice, please. Well, I agree on the Bruno Fernandes captaincy as well, Scott, on that one. So, really, let me know in the chat what are your chips available. I think you've got most of your chips available, but please do let me know. Your rank is 1.2 million, so up from 4.5 a few weeks ago, which is great news, Scott. So let me know firstly what chips you have available. But right now, you don't have that dilemma, of course, of Erling Haaland. And in terms of game week 31 as a blank game week, who have you actually got blank? You've got Gabriel that blanks. You have got Semenyo that blanks. And you have got Richards that blanks. And Dorgu, of course, is injured. So you're still in a position right now where you can field a decent enough team, but you probably are going to need to make one transfer just to get yourself there. And if Wilson is available, he's a great pick for blank game week 31. So I personally think, even though you're sat there with loads of money in the bank, and I do feel like it's very tempting to spend it, your back three is kind of as good as it's going to get this week. I think your midfield four are fantastic. Mbeumo, great. Bruno Fernandes, great. Semenyo, Dango. Like, what are you really missing this week? Yes, you could be tempted to go to a Liverpool player, but then with a front three of Thiago, Ekitike and João Pedro, I personally think, if we bring up the actual fixtures right now, God, I'm tiny in the corner, apologies. If we actually look, one defender transfer needed in game week 31. So you're going to have Gabriel that won't play. So you're going to have Van Dijk, Senesi, and then, of course, all three of those blank. Yes. So I think that is enough of a reason for you to roll your transfer this week. If you look at this week, really, you don't have a Bournemouth attacker, but again, Tavernier would just give you a major bench and headache right now. I think you're really covered off on the rest of the fixtures. You're not overly invested in Man City like an O'Reilly or an Erling Haaland. And then for game week 31, you're going to have 2 free transfers and loads of money in the bank. And what's really important there is that if you get there, and of course the only 2 defenders that you got will play will be Van Dijk and Senesi. If we look at game week 31, again, lots of things can happen, but you could easily just look at that and go, you know what, I need a Fulham defender, so I could just do anybody, probably Richards or Dorgu, to a Tete or an Anderson, one of those players in terms of that Fulham defence, and then really you've got a team full blank game week 31. So for me, rolling the transfer makes complete sense. I think that is the most important thing, and then getting yourself in a position for game week 31 blank. Hope that helps, mate. Obviously, if you have any questions, do let me know. I'm just going to leave my team up on the screen for you a minute, guys, just to show you where I'm at. Let's go through some of the chat. So, Magic World, apologies, I haven't got to your question earlier. Haaland to Ekitike and then captain him, and Gui to Pedro. Thoughts on this -4? Okay, so right now, I have no idea whether Haaland's going to play or not. Part of me thinks they're still in the title race. He does play. However, it sounds like he wasn't great against Real Madrid, and he hasn't really been fantastic in a Man City shirt for a little bit now. The goals obviously aren't coming thick and fast. Feels like Semenyo's playing the main character and Haaland almost the sidekick in this City team, which is really weird to see. So I actually do like the move. Of course, for a -4, I'm never really going to get behind it, but if those moves also help you for blank game week 31 and you're in a position where you're like, well, I don't even have 11 players, and selling Haaland and Mark Gui gets me 11 players for blank game week 31, then yes, I can get behind that. But of course, if you sell Haaland, you are always taking a risk, but I think Ekitike is just a better pick this week. Peter, I hope you do well. Yo, Nacho, it's Ollie on another account. What are your final thoughts on my thoughts? Yes, Ollie, apologies. Haven't had a chance to get onto the chat. We've set things up, but I can see that you've only got 1 transfer, which is an issue, and you have your team. So really with your team right now, Verbruggen, absolutely fine. Gabriel, Senesi and Virgil, perfectly good back 3. I think your midfield 4 looks great, and in your front 3. You're talking about possibly doing the Salah switch, which I totally understand, but as part of a -4, I don't know how much I really love that. If I look at the rest of your bench, it's not ideal. I probably would have Alderete ahead of Dewsbury Hall on your bench in order. But a -4 to bring in Mo Salah is one in which I don't actually love. I personally would rather roll in your scenario, considering you only have 1 free transfer available. Let me know your thoughts on, mate. I get it that you kind of want to make aggressive moves to put yourself in a position this week. I had actually a good day and great game week. Hope you do well, dude. What should I do? 3 free transfers. Welbeck to Thiago / João Pedro, and Enzo to Tavernier, or Haaland to João Pedro, Thiago, and Enzo to Salah or roll. Captaincy is on Bruno, and I have 5 blankers in game week 31. So if you have 5 blank game weeks in 31, the most important thing right now is ensuring that you've got players that are going to benefit you over the next 2 weeks. Now, of course, selling Welbeck is a player that plays in game week 31, so it isn't really helping you. So too that of Enzo. So my issue right now is, even though I don't mind the move of Welbeck to Thiago, João Pedro, and Enzo to Tavernier, it isn't helping you with your game week 31 scenario. So you're still going to have 5 blankers in game week 31. So that's why the Haaland move probably does make a bit more sense. But again, you need to prepare yourself for game week 31 in a bit more detail. So maybe let me know the rest of your team just for a bit of context. Start 1, Krupi, Wilson or Hill. I would start Hill of that lot. Krupi, we don't know whether he'll start. And Wilson is, again, a little bit of a hit or miss this week. And the fixture is good against Forest. It's not like a home run fixture. Start Margehi or Hill. I'd be quite tempted to start Hill myself. I think West Ham probably get a goal there. James at Mendes. Morning, Nacho. Anderson of Fulham or Richards. So I would go for Anderson. I think he's playing a bit higher. There's a chance of attacking returns. And also he hits DEFCON. I think Anderson is better than Richards. Rodgers or Ndai. Both terrible, but I just back Arsenal to be better than Everton by quite a considerable margin. So I probably would go Rodgers. Or both defenders over both midfielders. Now that's the big decision right now. As you can see, I currently have Rodgers on the bench. However, I'm also starting Lafille with the thought of him actually not being on penalties, which is not ideal. I think in your scenario, I'll be quite tempted to start both defenders, but I get it. Starting the midfielders is a bit more of a priority, and then if that's the case, I would go Anderson and Rodgers, if that is the case. But that's a really close one. I'm just going to sort this out a minute on here so it's a bit easier to view on here. Because I'm conscious it's a little bit small. So when I put my team up, you might be able to see it a bit easier. Sweet. There we go. Yeah, so just give you a bit of context, guys. This is where I'm at right now in terms of my team. But I really don't know exactly what I am doing. And I need to have a real good think about it during this live stream, which we obviously will be doing. But many things could happen. I could roll my transfer. I have 3 free transfers right now. So I have 4 transfers in Game Week 31. I could sell HAALAND to João Pedro and then bring in a midfielder. But again, I don't know how much I love that. I could start Richards over Lafay. I could start Rodgers over Lafay. Lots of different moves that could happen in my team. We will talk about them in a minute. Buffy, are we doing well? Mateus, cap on Bruno. Think I roll into 5 transfers? Yes. For me, I personally have it ranked in terms of captaincy as Bruno Fernandes number 1. I just think he plays guaranteed minutes. Yes, Ekitike has Spurs and he's my second pick, but him not being on penalties and also playing 90 minutes in that Champions League game makes me think if Liverpool 2-0 up, he's coming off after 60 minutes or so because they need him for that second leg against Galatasaray. So yes, he could have done all the damage already against Spurs, but again, it's a really difficult one right now with Spurs because I get it. Spurs are terrible right now and I fully expected Liverpool to win that game quite comfortably, but do we foresee like another big loss by Spurs? Like, are we actually thinking Spurs get slapped 5-0 again? And this is a Liverpool team that aren't necessarily playing incredible either. Like, if we look at the Spurs situation right now in terms of, I mean, that's horrendous. The last time Spurs won a game is Game Week 18. Wow. That's truly awful. Now, if we actually look at the situations right now. So, again, the Atletico Madrid game, it's one of those that we have to have a bit of context. Howlers by the goalkeeper, like we have to basically take away 2 of those goals because that is not a normal thing. It's a bit of an anomaly, those goals that were gifted to Atletico. The Palace game, very difficult to judge because that was with 10 men. Obviously, the Fulham game, just bad. Arsenal, I'd expect Arsenal to beat Spurs in that game regardless. Obviously, a 2-1 loss to Newcastle, 2-0, 2-2. Even Burnley put 2 goals past them. Bournemouth put 3 goals into them. It's really difficult right now to understand because some of the games that Spurs have put in, which have been horrendous, there's been context to it. The mistakes in the Atletico game, the red card in the Crystal Palace game. But it doesn't take away from the fact that this is their scenario right now going into this week. This is Spurs' situation. No Gallagher, well, possibly no Gallagher. No Basuma, Polinia, Romero, Van der Ven, Odegaard, Udogie, Bergval, Bentancur, Kudus, Maddison, and Kulusevski. So whatever team they play, it is going to be pretty damn woeful. So really, when you look at it, Spurs' team is going to be pretty damn poor. It's going to be Dragishin and bloody who else is there? Danso at the back. Ugh. Jed Spence will probably be playing. Pedro Porro. I mean, those aren't necessarily the best defenders in the world. Whatever that midfield is, God forbid, I have no idea what team that is going to be. Probably Papsar and... So yeah, I get it. Spurs absolutely could get destroyed again by Liverpool. However, I also don't personally think Liverpool have been outstanding. Yes, they scored 5 goals against West Ham, but they lost against Wolves, lost against Galatasaray. You know, very, very thin margins here in these games. Yes, obviously they put 4 past Newcastle, but I also don't think Liverpool are absolutely free-flowing football right now, enough for us to be like, we have to buy Liverpool players. So I'm interested to see what you guys think in the situation. I'm not completely sold on Liverpool yet. I'm going to be honest, I'm not completely sold on them. Bench Enzo or Rodgers? I would bench Rodgers. I think Enzo is better than Rodgers this week. Bad Funny Gamer, thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Hi, mate. Play Lafay or Timber? Thanks. Timber every day of the week. I would play Timber because I don't see how Timber doesn't start but then comes on. I think it would only be an injury that would make Timber come off the bench. I would absolutely play Timber. I think there'd be far too much FOMO if you see that Arsenal team and Timber's playing. You're like, why the bloody hell didn't I start him? For me, that's definitely Timber. Mbeumo and Haaland to Ekitike and Salah, thoughts I'm chasing. Look, if you're chasing, okay, that's fine. But selling Mbeumo as part of that, for me, just does not sit well. Aston Villa, I just don't think that is a great game to be taking someone like Mbeumo out. I just don't really think that is the player to sell. To go to Liverpool players who, like we said, could possibly be taken out. Like, if I just get this slide up a minute, just for a bit of context so everybody knows the situation right now. So, obviously the round of 16 fixtures, they were what they were. Take Liverpool as an example. They played Tuesday against Galatasaray. They're then playing, as you can see, on the Sunday against Spurs at 4 p.m. And then their game is on Wednesday against Galatasaray at home. So they've had a big rest between now and the Premier League game. So I am expecting, Ekitike and all to have really good minutes. But because they're chasing in that second leg and they need all their players available, like, if Liverpool are 2-0 up after 60 minutes and Ekitike's bagged a brace, he's coming off. I don't see how he stays on. Played the full minutes in that Galatasaray game. They're going to need him for the second leg 100%. I don't see how he does 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes again. So I think Ekitike is absolutely a good buy. But would I be selling Mbeumo as a cash cow to get there? I personally wouldn't know. And I'll leave this up for a minute just for a bit of context for everybody. Like, if you take Man City as an example, and this is why we're a little bit worried about Erling Haaland. Played against Real Madrid, for albeit it sounded like he was pretty woeful in that game. City fans are saying how he should have been taken off at halftime more than anything. Then they've got the game at 8 p.m. today against West Ham, of course, away from home. West Ham are actually on a bit of an up. If we actually take a look at the West Ham situation right now, if I just bring up anyone, Bowen, the results have definitely improved. Good result against Fulham. Yes, they did lose 5-2 to Liverpool, but anybody that watched that game, West Ham were in that game. It's just Liverpool were just kind of scoring everything in that game. 0-0 against Bournemouth, a good 1-0 against Man United, 2-0 against Burnley. Incredibly unlucky to lose that game against Chelsea. Beating Sunderland, beating Spurs. Like, since Nuno has got his teeth into this team, he has made him a good team, like a solid team, I believe. Like, trust me, that Chelsea game, I don't think that was a 3-2 game personally at all. I think that was a draw at least. If not, West Ham were good in phases. But I think really West Ham are getting themselves in a good spot. I feel like their Liverpool game was a bit of an anomaly, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think West Ham are going to make this very difficult for Man City. And really, when we look at the rest of it, then they play at 8 p.m. on the Tuesday. So the turnaround is so quick between Haaland, Man City and that Real Madrid game that I think Haaland could possibly be a risk this week. Definitely. No Van der Ven, Romero and Paulina, the Ekitike captaincy is looking nice. Yes, I do agree. I think Ekitike captaincy is very good. There's no denying that. Mbeumo and Haaland covered that one off. Bench struggle this week. Start 2, Hill, O'Reilly, Wilson or Enzo. I would start Hill. I think it's a good enough fixture, but I do think Burnley have the capability of scoring. O'Reilly's one of those where I would find it very hard to bench him, just because if he does rock up and play midfield, you're thinking to yourself, bloody hell, I've just benched a defender that plays in the number 10. So I probably would go for Hill and O'Reilly. Wilson probably wouldn't make it because of the doubts of the minutes. If he starts, he might only play 60 minutes. But I do think Enzo is a sneaky pick as well in there. Could you help with a benching headache? Got a mix of Hill, Gahey, Rodgers and Bowen. Thinking of either Bowen-Hill combo or Rodgers-Gahey. So for me, I might be talking as like a Rodgers owner that's been getting burnt each and every week. But I personally just don't like Rodgers right now. He's really frustrating me. The numbers aren't great. Villa played Thursday night. Man United have had a full week's rest. Yes, anybody that's played football before will know that rhythm is a thing. And, sometimes you are a little bit rusty. But these pros are literally training every single day. Yes, they might be a bit rusty, but I'd rather be in Man United's position than that of Aston Villa's. So I think Rodgers could be a bench and be fine with it. Bowen's still up against Man City. It's not an ideal scenario. I definitely would still play Hill, and I probably would agree. I think the Hill and Bowen combination is actually what I would go for myself. I think West Ham score against City. David, hello, actually, have a nice day. And you too, mate. I have a question. In goal, Jose Sarr of Verbruggen, thank you very much. Well, obviously we've got the fixtures here in the middle, and we got Jose Sarr, who's been performing miracles in games against Brentford, or you got Verbruggen away against Sunderland, I believe? Yes, so neither are ideal. And I think both are in a similar situation where they both could concede. It probably depends. If you're playing Thiago and you're playing that, just play Verbruggen and go down that route. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jose Sarr gets something against Brentford at all. I think Wolves are really fighting right now. I kind of back Wolves in a weird way to do something as opposed to Brighton. I think Sunderland's a tough place to go. Too many choices and being overthinking for weeks without returns. Roll and enjoy the rugby, I'm thinking. Hey, that is the way to be sometimes. Sometimes it's overthinking the game. We play out loads of different scenarios. And really, sometimes just rolling the transfer and just being done with it is sometimes the best way to be. Honestly, it really is. Hey, Nacho, hope you're well. Hope you're well. Sivan, is it? I apologise. Just wondering your thoughts on either starting Rodgers or Alderete. Right now, he is DEFCON monster. Also, do you have any thoughts on Salah, Captain, or Bruno? Thanks. So, again, I'm a Rodgers hater. He used to be my boy, but I hate him now. So I would go for Alderete myself with that home game against Brighton. If he gets a clean sheet, he's still got a good chance of defensive contributions. In terms of the Salah captaincy over Bruno, so he plays 60 minutes in the Champions League. You read into that what you will. I personally don't know what that means. Does that mean... Look, one thing we know, because our eyes don't lie, Salah ain't playing well. Like, anybody who's trying to convince us that Salah is unbelievable right now, the guy is absolutely droppable. Yes, he scored a goal in the last game week, but look, this isn't the Mo Salah of old. It is a shadow of that player. A team right now that are not playing to his strengths at all. So we have to have the thought process that Mo Salah could just not start this game at all. I think if you own Salah and you're chasing rank, Salah captaincy, I would just do it. You own him, double down, go all in. If he gets the returns, he gets the returns. Otherwise, for me, I think Bruno Fernandes is the safe pick this week. I don't think it is the highest points this week. I think Salah has the potential of going big, but I just feel like Bruno is the safer option for guaranteed minutes on penalties. And an Aston Villa team that, of course, are on a bit of a freefall right now. They're not playing great. And, of course, they played on Thursday as well. Again, people have different opinions. The fact that he played on Thursday for Aston Villa is good because it means that they have got rhythm. Others think that obviously it's a position where it's like, well, you know, they've played, they're going to be a bit fatigued. It's a very difficult one to come to the conclusion of. Just looking right now on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, just to see what is going on right now. Can't see any news. And really, I can't imagine there is going to be anything. That's cool. I'll leave it for now. Okay, guys, if you drop a like on the stream, always massively appreciated. Gamer, HAALAND to João Pedro and Rice to Salah for a -4 already have Ekitike. When it's a -4, I think Rice could actually do okay this week. Like, would I be surprised if Rice hits DEFCON, gets a bonus point, probably gets an assist? Nah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If you're chasing rank, yes, I like the move. But if you're just sitting there in the top 100k, I think you just sit pretty with the players that you got and stick with it. Lewis Miley for Tavernier, I have 3 transfers. Yes, I can get behind that. I think that is a decent enough move. Obviously, it sounds like Miley's going to be out. And really, he's not offering lots in the game right now. Spursy84, hope you're doing well. Thoughts on Raul to Ekitike for -4. Rumours of Raul not starting due to his father's passing. Yeah, sad news, obviously. It sounded like he either heard that after training or something. So yeah, really sad news for Raul Jimenez. Would you maybe captain Ekitike as a Spurs fan? Oh, that is such a conflict right now, isn't it, in terms of the emotions. So Raul to Ekitike, with the situation that's happened, you are selling a player that has a great fixture in game week 31, but we know that Raul and Muniz are very much sharing minutes right now. So we can't even sit here and say that you're selling a player that is absolutely guaranteed to play in game week 31, unless I've missed something regarding Muniz. So I do think the move is fine, but again, does it actually enhance the rest of your team? It might look good for this week, but are you then causing yourself a benching headache, if anything? So just check that. Make sure buying Ekitike doesn't force you to bench somebody that actually looks quite good this week. Thoughts on João Pedro, Captain Nacho, Cold Palmer said, oh, he hasn't been in my thoughts, to be honest with you. He hasn't been in my thoughts, mainly because he's not on penalties, but his ownership's massive. If he does well and you captain him, I think it's going to be a great pick. I still would put Bruno ahead of him, personally, if you do own Bruno, though. I still would go there. While we're on here, guys, let me just look at my team, because selfishly, I do have to have a little think about what I'm going to do myself. So, the first thing I want to do is look at my team and say to myself, what does blank game week 31 look like? Because whatever I want to do in game week 30, if it doesn't help me for game week 31, what is the bloody point? So if we take a look at game week 31, this is how the team would look. So if I just start the players that are in the game. So what's the issue? Well, I've only got 2 defenders. So whatever happens between now and game week 31, I got to buy a defender. So that's one priority. Whether it be this week is the question, because if you actually look at my team for game week 30, you know, Hill, O'Reilly and Gabriel, and I've also got Richards on the bench at home against Leeds, which I'll be fine to play, and Anderson away against Forest, not as good because we're not sure about Anderson's minutes. So in terms of this week in isolation, like, the defenders look fine. So I would be very much forcing a transfer with my defenders this week. So really, I need to make a defensive move, but I can just wait until game week 31 to understand which defender I actually want to buy. If we look at the midfielders, I've got 4 midfielders, but one of those being Lafia away against Newcastle, not ideal. Especially now it looks like Lafia's lost penalties to, I believe it's Diarra. So I think he's taken 2 over the last couple of weeks, which is not a good indicator for me that Lafia is now on penalties. I think Diarra now is. So Lafia's fine as a player, but of course I would like someone better in that slot. And then of course I've only got a front 2. So I could either sell Rice, bring in another midfielder and play Lafia, buy a defender, and I'd still have 2 transfers available. So I do think 4 transfers in game week 31 puts me in a really good spot, you know. I'll just show you as an example what I could do from a, let's say, ownership perspective, is I could sell O'Reilly to Virgil van Dijk, and then really I'd look at it and think, I don't really like my ownership in midfield. I could go grab Wilson if he's available and start him, and I could easily play that team and just say to myself, you know what, yes, I am playing Lafia away against Newcastle, but the rest of the team looks okay, and I have 2 other transfers. So worst case scenario, let's say somebody like game week 31, I look and think Tavernier is great. I could do Lafia to Tavernier. If I think, you know, Nottingham Forest's Anderson is good, I could bring him in. So I think there are options, and I could use between 2 and 3 transfers in game week 31. So I need to remind myself that keeping my transfers to game week 31 will absolutely help me in this particular week. Now, if we play out a few different scenarios right now for game week 30, firstly, I still don't know who I'm going to start. I would love a little bit of input from you guys if that's okay. So who would you start? So for me, I think if I own O'Reilly, I'm going to start him. I don't think I'm going to like bench O'Reilly. So my decision right now is Lafia, Richards, or Rodgers. This is my big one. Who would you start? Bench other 2. So if we have a look at that, don't be influenced what I've picked, because this is just the default team. So I haven't actually picked Lafia as an example here. So what would you do? Which one would you start? And then it means you bench the other 2 this week. I'll be quite interested to know where people are, because obviously I have quite a hatred towards Rodgers right now, but I need to also take that hatred off and say to myself, logically, what is the actual right play for my team? So while you guys are voting on that, again, it'd be massively appreciated if you can. If we take a look at my team, one thing I could do is do something like Lafia to Tavernier, brings in for the Burnley game. I keep the rest of the team as it is. Then in game week 31, I would have my transfers available. Rodgers comes in for Rice. Anderson comes in. Dubravka comes in. I'd have to make a defensive transfer. Again, let's say I do this to Virgil. And I also do the move that we spoke about before of Rice to Wilson. Can I afford that? Yes, I can. And the team would look like that. Virgil will be in for Gabriel, and that team looks pretty good. It gets me Tavernier for this week away against Burnley, which is great. We know he's on penalties, guaranteed minutes, and I personally think there is every chance Bournemouth were to score against Man United. I don't think Man United are watertight defensively, so he kind of helps both things, where I get to play him instead of Lafille, and I think he's better than Lafille this week, and I think he's better than Rodgers this week, and the team looks pretty strong. And I still only need to make 2 transfers in Game Week 31. Just to give you context, that would be O'Reilly to Virgil van Dijk and Rice to Wilson. Wouldn't have, other players, but it is what it is. Team looks pretty good. And then in Game Week 32, I don't really know what world this will be then. I don't really want to overthink what this could be. I could wildcard this week. I could use transfers. If I bring in HAALAND a minute for something like that, I still have 2 transfers available. So if we got to a position where I was like, actually, I need to sort Game Week 32 out a little bit. If I look at the fixtures here, what would I really like to do? Who don't I own? Well, I'm looking at the fixtures thinking, who do I really want to own out of this lot? I've got double Liverpool. Man United, I've kind of got covered with Bruno, and I could go to an Mbeumo as part of a 2 move in this. But I think the team looks okay. Tavernier is the one that's obviously not ideal. And Wilson isn't really helping my team that much. So there is a possibility that maybe Anderson is the way to go, because then I would have Anderson for the Aston Villa game. But I don't want to get too far ahead of it, because I don't really know what I want to do with my team. So maybe just the one move of Lafille to Tavernier would be quite a good move. I see 50% of you are saying Rodgers. 28 are saying Richards, and 20 are saying Lafille. One thing I need to check out is what actually is Lafille's numbers. Like, what numbers is he actually putting up recently? So 0.03, 0.11, 0.85, but then pretty rubbish numbers. He does hit DEFCON occasionally. He's hit it here. He's hit it here. He's hit it here. So he's hit it 1, 2, 3, 4. He's hit it like 6 times. And he's been very close here, here, here. So Lafille is not a bad play. I really don't think he is a bad play this week. But I also get it. Rodgers, when we talk about numbers, look at these. They're terrible. They're the same as Lafille's, to be honest with you. So that's why Lafille's currently in, and hoping that Sunderland just do a job on Brighton. Gonna call my baby Nacho, to be honest. Love that. Start 2 out. Mateus, Nunes, Anderson, Rodon, Wilson, and Rodgers. Well, Mateus Nunes, I don't know if I love that. Anderson, that will be the Fulham one. Okay, not a great fixture away against Forest. Start 2. Rodon, not great. Wilson, not great. Rodgers, not. It's not a great bunch. I probably would lean towards probably Anderson and maybe Mateus Nunes, and just hope that Man City do well. I don't really love the other picks. Look, realistically, Rodgers should be part of it. I'm not a good guy to ask because I just hate Rodgers right now. I really do. Could Aston Villa do well against Man United? Maybe, but I just don't have it in my gut right now that Rodgers would do well. Yeah. Is Sesko getting benched? Don't know on that one. What about Haaland to Ekitike and Gui to Thiago? Yeah, I can get behind that. I don't hate that move at all, especially if it's a free transfer. Thoughts on Semenyo captain? Yeah, don't mind it. I think West Ham are going to make a good account for themselves against Man City. Rayan to Wirtz, yes, but I don't really know what Wirtz's minutes are going to be like. I really wouldn't be surprised if he is also an early sub in that game. Would I bring in Tavernier for a hit? Who are you selling? That is the big thing right now. Zeus, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. Bench Gahey or Hill, and thoughts on... I would bench Gahey myself, and I would start Hill. I think Hill's a fine play this week. And thoughts on Embuemo to Semenyo. The problem is, if you... As a punt, I don't really think as a punt, Semenyo's ownership's monstrous, so it wouldn't be a punt, really. It'd be a highly owned player that wouldn't really shift your rank. Would I bench Maguire or Alderete, and would you bench Rodgers or Wilson? Well, it's a difficult one. I think, like, if you play Maguire and Rodgers, they're up against one another, so it's not really a nice position to be in. I probably would go for... I'll probably tend to go Alderete and Wilson, Alderete and Rodgers, to be honest with you. Is Pickford to Leno valid? Is Pickford to Leno valid? I think it's fine. I don't think it's too bad. I don't think I've got the fixtures up, but it's fine. But it's a bit of a niche move, really. I think Pickford's always a fine hold unless you need to free up the money, to be honest with you. Pickford will always find ways to get points, legitimately. He'll always find ways to get points. I wanted to show you guys what I would do if I was selling Haaland. So, if I was selling Haaland, what the popular move right now for a lot of people is going to Pedro. And for me, this would give me 7.5 million in the bank. So, for example, Rice makes a lot of sense to get rid of because he also sells somebody in a blank game week 31. Do I like the idea of parting ways with Declan Rice? Not really, but you can get there. The other way you can get there is selling Rodgers, but of course Rodgers plays in blank game week 31. So even though I despise Rodgers, I can't really get there. Lafay doesn't get me to Salah, it gets me to Wirtz. So again, I have to ask myself, do I like Wirtz enough to make these transfers? So let's say we've done Rice to Mo Salah. Again, I don't really like the idea of that. Team would look like this for game week 30, which I would argue is probably better than my initial team. Haaland and Rice versus João Pedro and Salah. I'd rather have this team, to be honest with you. I would captain Bruno. Again, let's say I do go Rodgers and just, give in to the Rodgers thing in this scenario. Team would look like that. Then in game week 31, what would the team look like? Well, I would already be benching Lafay, which is a fine position to be in. And I would need to make a defensive transfer, as we've already discussed. The problem is making those moves means I can't get to Virgil van Dijk unless I sell Gabriel. He's currently priced at 7.2. I could sell him at 6.8. So it isn't ideal me selling him, really. So I might have to be in a position where I'm like, okay, I take on Virgil van Dijk because O'Reilly to Van Dijk, there isn't enough money in the bank to do so. So what I could do is sell O'Reilly this week, and I look at the fixtures and say to myself, okay, what do I really want? Well, I kind of want, who could do well this week? Not many. I don't really think many keep clean sheets in this game week, which makes it quite difficult. Maybe I just go, let's say I went to Tete and just went all in on Fulham, and the team looked like this. Again, I don't have Wilson in the midfield, which is a slight concern, but the rest of the team looks fine. Looks absolutely fine. And then, of course, in game week 32, I'd have 2 free transfers and in a position where, I can do whatever I need to do in this week. I probably would keep Lafay on the bench the 2 Fulham, but then I'll be stuck with 2 Fulham if I decided not to go down that route. So, the Haaland move is a difficult one because I don't really think I think it improves my team, but it kind of hurts me in an additional week. If I was to actually be smart, but also get rid of Haaland, one move that I could do is let's say I went down this route. I went to João Pedro. I could use the money to actually go get Virgil van Dijk. So let's say I got rid of O'Reilly because I was worried that he was going to get benched this week. Then the team would look like this, which again, I think the team looks good. I haven't invested in another Liverpool attacker, but I've picked up Virgil van Dijk, who in himself might outscore the Liverpool attackers because he's so good from set pieces. So the team would be like that. And then in game week 31, once again, we take a look at the team. I'd have 2 free transfers. My defense is already been sorted as part of one of those moves. And I would look to make one more move, possibly. So, for example, if I looked at this team, I could do... You know, Rice is actually a weird one because if you don't want a wild card in game week 32, he actually is okay to keep because you've got Bournemouth there, and then you probably are doing a chip in 33 or a chip in 34. So I actually think Rice is okay. So what I could do possibly is like, you know, just say to myself, just address the 11. So you could do Lafie to Wilson, for example, in this week. If you wanted to go there, you could go pick up Florian Wirtz if you wanted to, and the team would look like that. Which again, I think is a solid team. I think that team is absolutely fine for game week 31. And again, same scenario. You'd have 2 free transfers in game week 32. Do I think, if you look at the summary here, Haaland to João Pedro and O'Reilly to Virgil is worth the transfer? I just don't know if it is. Really don't know if that is worth it. Hey Nacho, what's your game week 32 chip strategy? I don't really know right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know exactly what I want to do. And that's why I think rolling my transfer might actually be a strong position to be in. Because if I can get through game week 30, again, I don't have any Liverpool attack. But if O'Reilly and Haaland play, this team's great. This team's absolutely fine for this game week. And I could just put myself in a position where I have 4 transfers in game week 31. I need to make a minimum of 2 transfers in this week. So again, like I said, I need to buy a defender and I need to buy somebody else in this team. You might need 3 transfers in game week 31 to be really strong. But game week 32, like I said, I don't really know what I want to do. But having the transfers available, I think, puts a bit more flexibility in the team, which I think is quite important. Garner to Salah, Haaland to DCL, 2 free transfers. I do have Rice too, but probably might just roll. So Garner to Salah. Well, I mean, that's a good upgrade. DCL's currently got a flag. They think he is going to be available, but just be cautious. You know, that could mean limited minutes. I'll be tempted to roll with that team, probably. I have exact money for Senesi, or am I best to just go in for Hill? Well, it depends. Senesi's good. Senesi's a good play, but it's all about the price difference. I think Senesi isn't a million better than Hill. I think a million could go a lot further in your team. So I probably would be quite tempted just to go for Hill and use the funds elsewhere, to be honest with you. Now, just a quick reminder, guys, we've got just less than an hour until the deadline. I, of course, don't know what I'm doing yet. I probably should sort my team out. I see 40% are saying I should start Rodgers over the rest, which is fair. Sorry, guys, I'm just updating some patrons a minute. Apologies. Again, I'm keeping an eye on the chat on Twitter to see if there is any sort of news right now regarding, you know, Man City, who do kick off at 8 p.m. I think the big thing for me right now as well, which is worth noting, is that Man City is still in the title race right now. And for someone like an O'Reilly, he's been really good in their midfield. Like, if we take a look at his minutes in the Premier League. So, if we take a look at O'Reilly. So, he played none against Nottingham Forest because, of course, he had that injury and they were being careful with him. He played against Real Madrid. Is he fit enough now to be back? Well, end of the day, he played against Newcastle in the Cup. He then played against Real Madrid. So I think he's back fully fit. If we look at this, Leeds away. I think, you know, plays 69 minutes. But then prior to that, he's been a 90-minute monster in midfield. I think there is a good chance O'Reilly starts again in midfield. I think if anyone's seen the team, let me try and get it up a minute. If we try and play a bit of pet predictions, God forbid. Let's have a little look. So, let's have a little bit of pep roulette. So, against Real Madrid, he played, well, more importantly, who did he bench? Well, Reinders was on the bench, but he doesn't really trust Reinders that much. Marmoush, of course, the one that we're worried. Cherki, midfielder, who probably will start this weekend, and Aït-Nouri. Other bench, worth noting, I think Nico Gonzalez could possibly come back into this team as well. I think that is absolutely a possibility as well in that game. So, and I think Phil Foden will come in. So if we look at this team, who do you think sits out? Well, I think Savinho won't start. Bernardo Silva probably does start again, but if he requires him for Real Madrid, then there is a world where maybe Nico O'Reilly comes into the spot of Bernardo, and also Nico Gonzalez comes in for Rodri possibly. I can see that happening. Maybe Rodri comes out, Nico Gonzalez starts for Rodri. I could see possibly Foden coming in for Savinho. And then I could possibly see seeing Nico O'Reilly playing in that midfield. Because if we take a little pan out and see the last time Man City played with the team that we're talking about. So the Newcastle game is an example where they were fantastic, Man City. The team that they had was this. Now, I personally could see... I couldn't see Ake starting. I personally think that could be Aït-Nouri in this game. But I think that midfield three is a possibility once again. I think Rodri probably sits out because they're going to need him for that Real Madrid game. I think Nico Gonzalez could definitely play. And I think O'Reilly could play that midfield role again. Because who was on the bench for them? Foden. I think Foden isn't a direct replacement for Nico O'Reilly in that midfield, personally. That front three, I could see Marmoush possibly starting. I could see Savinho benched. And I could see Cherki possibly in there. So, by an elimination process, I think there is a good chance maybe that O'Reilly does play midfield. I'm not sure what you guys think. I have 3 chips. I use my triple captain. Joachim Andersen, I just don't know really. Whether he started the cup game to get his fitness up, which I think probably is a possibility, but we just don't really know right now. We kind of need one more game week's worth of information. At the end of the day, if he doesn't start, everybody's going to be panicking because we all want him for game week 31, blank. So I'm hoping he starts. I personally think he either starts or gets 0 minutes. Like, I don't see how he comes on as a centre-back. Like, that just is quite an unusual transfer to make sometimes. I would 100% bench Calvert-Lewin for Virgil van Dijk. You cannot bench Virgil van Dijk. Would I sell Haaland to João Pedro and Szoboszlai to Salah? I'm chasing rank. Ugh. I think Szoboszlai starts. And would I be surprised if Szoboszlai outscores Salah? No, not really. I think it's a very sideways move, personally. You'd have to captain Salah to justify those moves. I really think you'd have to captain Salah to justify that. Yes, I'm having to think right now what to do with this team. What I need to do is get up the Sunderland results. Let me get the Sunderland results up. I need to see where... sorry, guys. Just getting Sunderland up. You know you play fantasy when you're Googling Sunderland. Like, when you talk about FPL... People like Lafie, if I didn't play FPL, I wouldn't even know who the bloke is. So now that my computer's making quite an unusual sound. So if it does cut out, I do apologise, guys. What I need to understand right now is the situation with Lafie. Where are we at with him? So hopefully you guys can see this. Fingers crossed. Sorry about all of the stuff being spammed. I'm not the one advertising this, I do apologise. So this is how Sunderland played against Leeds, where they got that 1-0 win. Diarra, remember, is the one that's taking penalties now, which we don't like Diarra now. We don't like Diarra because he's playing 90 minutes pretty much, playing in that number 10, and it's pushing Lafie out to the left-hand side. So if we look at the touch heat map a minute, the general sort of positions that these players are taking up, Diarra's playing very close to Mayenda in this system, and Lafie operating a bit more as a winger as opposed to a number 10, which is not ideal. Not a single penalty box touch. So the big question is this going to happen again? Well, if we look at Sunderland over the last couple of weeks, because that's really important right now, only for my team, I do apologise. If we look at the Bournemouth game, which was only 3 days before, we look at the lineup. Once again, Diarra playing in at number 10, the midfield 2, which I think is going to stick, and Mayenda up top. So we come down to the touch heat map again. Lafy with some touches in and around, but very much operating on that left-hand side. And in terms of his actual numbers in this game, if we can get the stats up, I don't know if they've got individual stats. Fingers crossed. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Have we got individual stats? Yes, we do. You can't see them, but I'll tell you what they are. So, in terms of his expected assists, 0.09. In terms of his XG, 0.02. So, we didn't really do anything in the Bournemouth game. And in the Leeds game, he had shots, 0. And key passes, 0.03 expected assists. So look, if he's playing on that left-hand side, he's not playing in the number 10, it ain't great, really, is it? I didn't really factor that into the discussion. He'll probably now bag a goal. But that is, the fact that he's off penalties, the fact that he's playing on that left-hand side and he's not in the number 10 is slightly concerning, which is making me do this. Or could it make me do this? It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Start Ballard over Hill. The former more of a goal threat. I agree, he's more of a goal threat. Yeah, I could get behind playing Ballard, actually. I don't mind that play at all. Free hit and wildcard is going to be very flexible for me personally. I need to see what happens with the cup results. Do I think Palace keep a clean sheet? They kept one against Wolves and they kept one against Brighton. What's his DEFCON like? What is Richard's DEFCON like? He hasn't hit it for a little while, to be honest. He hit it obviously this week, just gone. But prior to that, not incredible. And they played Thursday night, which is not ideal. Rodgers played Thursday night as well. Let's save this for now. Let's save that for now. Ugh. Yeah. Start Wilson or Hill. I probably would start Hill because I really don't know whether Wilson starts or not. Sorry, I was just keeping an eye on Twitter /X. Well, it is X, isn't it, nowadays? Just to see what is going on, to see if there is any sort of team news out there. But again, I really don't think we're going to get anything before the deadline, which is a little bit of a shame. Yeah. Would you sell Gahey for someone that doesn't blank in game week 31? Yeah, I think that is absolutely a move to consider as well. Absolutely a move to consider. Who that defender is, if you can get Virgil van Dijk, then yes, I could get behind that move. I think Virgil van Dijk's the one that I'm looking at right now thinking, ugh, I don't have you. And you are a little bit scary not to own this week. That's the big thing for me. I'm not really that tempted to go to a Liverpool attacker this week, weirdly enough. I think having Ekitike probably just sits okay with me this week. So, yeah, that's how we're currently looking right now. This is how we're currently looking, guys. I'm just going to get rid of the poll a minute. I know it's really boring, but somebody that I actually have been considering buying is just Forrest's Anderson. This week, they've got home game against Fulham. And then in game week 31, they got Spurs. And then in game week 32, Forest have got Villa. So, like, if you didn't wildcard in game week 32, I think over a 3-game week period, Anderson's actually completely fine. So it pains me that, like, that's actually a consideration for me, is doing, let's say, Lafy to Anderson, which I can afford. Look, like, Anderson's been ticking over lovely. Like, his DEFCON's a joke. He's got a 4 or 5 point floor, and he obviously does get the occasional, well, I say the occasional, like, he's literally got 2 goals, 3 assists. But Anderson's a very boring pick for me. But the issue with Anderson is that if you look at my team for this week, sorry guys. So my dog is literally... My dog's been begging to come in for ages, so I'm just going to say hello to her. There is someone else in my house, don't worry. It's not like she's been on her own. She's been with somebody. Hello. Just very attention-seeking, my dog. Apologies. So, yeah, in terms of the situation right now with someone like an Anderson, does he actually help my team? Well, he really does. He really does help my team because he's one of those players that ticks all the boxes. He's got a good fixture in Gameweek 30. He plays in Gameweek 31 against Spurs. The only way I think that fixture turns difficult is if they sack Igor Tudor and bring in, you know, somebody like Sean Dyche or something and just to steady the ship. And then Gameweek 32, if you choose not to wildcard, it's a good fixture. You know, like who else has a good fixture in 30, 31 and 32? Well, if we work backwards, who's got a good fixture in 32 if you were to stick with them? Because I think Villa at home's actually not too bad. You know, not many. I really don't think many get close to him. Even like a Harry Wilson's got Liverpool in Gameweek 32, which is not ideal. So, you know, if we look at my team right now for this week, Rice being on the bench is a little bit weird. I would start him like this. If I was to sell Lafay and bring in Anderson, again, it doesn't make a lot of sense, this move, but I actually like the look of him, and it means I would be benching Rodgers, which again, you guys know I love that. Coming into Game Week 31, my team would look like this, but again, I would have a goalkeeper situation that I need to resolve, and I would need to pick up either a forward or an attacker. So, like we said before, I think I would have to go O'Reilly to Virgil van Dijk just to cover off his ownership, which is going to be monstrous. And then really this week, I'd be looking at it thinking, well, it's either sell HAALAND to get a forward, and that would be João Pedro most likely, or it's sell a midfielder and get Wilson. And really, it's going to be Wilson against Burnley, isn't it? And the team would look like that. And weirdly enough, I actually don't think Anderson is a bad play. Because Game Week 30, he looks good at home against Fulham. I prefer him to Lafay as an example. Then in Game Week 31, he's got Spurs away, which is fine for the blank game week, and the rest of the team looks good. And again, the context is that I've got these two transfers to make in Game Week 31. And then I get to Game Week 32 with 2 free transfers available. And again, Anderson's got Villa at home, so he kind of ticks that box. Again, I would like to buy Tavernier, but if I don't wildcard in 32, then he's not great. And then the team would look like this. HAALAND obviously would come back in for Wilson. And that team for Game Week 32, I really don't think looks awful. I think when I look at it, West Ham against Wolves, like, West Ham against Wolves is fine. Would I want Bowen in that game? I don't know who I would sell for him. I'm just looking at the fixtures. Brighton, I don't trust. Liverpool against Fulham, I've got double. Or I would have double. Sunderland against Spurs. Would I want Lafay? I probably would want Lafay in that game, weirdly enough. Man United against Leeds, I'd have Bruno. Could I squeeze a way to get to Mbeumo or Cunha? Yeah, I think I could. But the team looks fine for 32 as well if I chose not to use a wild card that week. That's all. Just ask Hibbo. When or who would you triple captain? That really comes down to a chip strategy. I think holding that for later probably is the better play. Holding that for later until a double game week possibly emerges for HAALAND. But again, it's all dependent on what that cup results go like. Mate, to start Enzo or HAALAND, keep up the good content. Appreciate it, mate. I think if you own HAALAND, you either start him or you sell him. I don't see how you can bench him. So I would start him over Enzo. I don't love it, but I just don't think you can really do that either. Like, bench HAALAND. I think it's one or the other, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's quite boring, the thought of bringing in Anderson, but maybe he is actually the way to go, which is crazy to think. Yeah, I'm just checking right now, guys, on Twitter/X, just to see what's going on right now, if there's anything. But I cannot see anything right now. Bench one of Timber, Kanate, or Anderson, which I'm going to assume is the Forest one. Well, the fact that I might be buying him means I don't really want to say that one. But Liverpool against Spurs is hard not to... I probably would be tempted to bench Kanate of all of them, to be honest with you. I think Anderson's not a bad play this week at all. Captain Ekitike, look, I think, how can I argue it? Spurs are all over the shop right now, so I can't really argue that one. If I'd done that move, does that actually improve my team? It means I'm benching Rodgers, or I simply just start Rodgers and don't buy Anderson. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the big one for me. Which would... Guys, I'm going to... Which would you do? Which would you do? Roll, FT, start Rodgers, or sell Lafie to Anderson. Guys, let me know what you do here. Either sell Lafie to Anderson, bench Rodgers, guys, hopefully that makes sense. Either roll the transfer, start Rodgers, bench Lafie, or I do Lafie to Anderson of Forest, but then I bench Rodgers. Be quite intrigued to know what you guys would do. Like I said, the thought process behind Anderson is that he helps me for blank game week 31, and also he's got a good fixture in 32 if I choose to keep him. Anderson's incredibly boring. That's the problem. And that's been his problem the whole season. But maybe that is like one of those things where I'm like, oh, but also like, what the hell? Like, why am I ignoring somebody who just always delivers defensive contributions and all that good stuff? And you know, in a world where everybody's buying Liverpool players, why don't you go buy a Forest player maybe? That's my motto. What I need to assess is, if I don't make a move, this is my team in game week 31. I apologise, I keep rambling back to game week 31. But like, this would be my team without any transfers. So like, regardless of what happens, I'm making one defensive move. So let's just say I buy Virgil for the sake of it. I need to make another transfer. Let's say Wilson's just too irresistible. So I do that. So 2 transfers minimum need to be made in game week 31. Minimum. And I still would have an additional 2 transfers available if I rolled this week. So that's a really good position to be in. Obviously, having Lafie away against Newcastle is not ideal. So, you know, I could, with my money in the bank, make a move for Anderson, as I said this week, or somebody in and amongst this. I could sell HAALAND and go buy João Pedro. I'd have a lot of flexibility this week. Really, of the forwards in this week, it's either Raul Jimenez, if we get word that he will start. It's João Pedro for covering off that, and that'll be it. Or a midfielder. Really, who am I buying this week if I was to buy the midfielders? Maybe Florian Wirtz, if I could afford it against Brighton. But again, I think that's a very niche move. I could go pick up... That's it. Tavernier. Or I honestly think Anderson away against Spurs is the other one. That's the only other one that I could go for. So I guess if I go Anderson, it kind of forces my hand a little bit. Whereas if I go down this route, if I get to game week 31 and I'm like, oh, actually, it looks okay, I could just keep it as it is. So is Anderson is buying Anderson really that much of a desperate move just to simply bench Rodgers? Probably not. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's why I think maybe this is how I keep it. Sorry, that. I think that's how I keep it. Again, Lafie or Rodgers start. We've done a bit of a look into this. I want to start Lafie. My issue is he's lost penalties to Diarra, and he's now playing left of a. It's not even a front three. It's like a three behind the forward, and his touch heat map is very much now as more of a wide man than a central player. So my issue with that is with someone like a Lafie. If he's now he's not in the number 10 role because of Diarra, which it looks like is the case, and that's been over the last 2 games minimum, he's still racking up DEFCON, which is a really good position to be in. You know, the last few games, he's been really, really industrious. He's been great. And I think he could easily do the same against Brighton. But the numbers have tailed off, and I think that is in relation to him being pushed out a little bit further. So that's a big concern. Brian, hope you're doing well, my friend. So my issue right now with Lafie is that he's playing that left mid role as opposed to the middle. So that's the big problem right now. Brian, yeah, I think Rice out for Anderson is probably a move that makes sense next week. Like, if I look at my team this week, I'm assuming you mean next week, Brian, as opposed to this week? Because Rice out to Anderson this week doesn't make sense here with the team. But let me know if you meant this week, mate. If you meant this week, I'll be intrigued to get a bit more detail on that, because I don't know if it makes sense making that move this week. Embuemo and Markey to Elliot Anderson and Thiago for -4. Nah, not really. It improves the rest of your team, of course, but selling Embuemo this week after a full week's rest, don't really like it. Don't really like it at all. Don't really like it. So yeah, I think we're just going to roll the transfer. I think buying Anderson, I love it, by the way, because it covers off a lot, and I think he is actually a good play this week. I do think Anderson's a player that helps me out a lot. The reason why I say that is because realistically, I think like I'm going to want to make 3 transfers in game week 31. So like, you know, I'm going to want to make 3 in this particular week. And I think I'll look at it and think, you know what? I could go get João Pedro, but do I love it away against Everton? It's fine. But of course, with this situation right now here, Brian, love that, by the way. Rice and HAALAND out for Mo and Pedro. I love it. I hope that does pay off, mate. I don't know if I can go there myself. I don't know if I can do it myself. But I do love the play. I just can't get behind Mo Salah. I used to love Mo Salah, but he has obviously lost his way a little bit. He isn't the player he once was. Should I start Rodgers or Krupi? Krupi's a difficult one. I don't really know if he is going to start. I love the fixture, though. What has Krupi's minutes been like? Sorry, guys. I do have to wrap it up in 10 minutes because I've got football myself, so I will have to dash. Yeah, very unpredictable. I probably would start Rodgers just because he's a 90-minute man. That is simply it. That is the only reason I would do that. Yeah, like I said, the reason why I like Anderson this week is just because I don't love Rodgers this week at all. Like, I really don't. Like, I think that's the big thing. I think the reason why I like bringing Anderson in this week is because, you know, Lafie helps out. But personally, I think I just accept the situation. I play Rodgers even though I hate him, and I just hope that like Man United are a little bit slow to get going and maybe Aston Villa do something. But guys, like, is that crazy? Just starting Richards against Leeds? He's going to hit DEFCON probably in that game. Is Rodgers really going to do anything? I don't think he does. He's been so poor for so long. What have Crystal Palace done recently? Sorry, what have Leeds done recently is what I want to look at. Away from home. So away from home, 1-1 against Villa. 2 goals against Chelsea. 1 against Everton. 3 against Newcastle. 0-1-1. 2 against City. 1 against... So they do find a way to score goals recently away from home. So I guess you would assume that they are going to get something against Palace, who of course played on Thursday night. But my big thing right now is like, Richards probably has a 4-point floor in this game. Whereas Rodgers, I just don't think does. Like, if you look at him, 1, 2, 2, 2, 10, 2, 8, 2, 3, and his numbers have been horrendous. DEFCON doesn't hit DEFCON at all. So am I just thinking, actually, the defender's the way to go? One last time, guys, I want to poll. One last time, because I feel like we got some new people in here. Who would you start? But is there upside in Rodgers when you look at that? Like, is there actually upside? Who would you start? Rodgers, Lafay, or Richards? Let me know. Remember, Lafay's lost penalties. That is one thing we need to note. I also just don't know if... I don't know if Haaland gets 0 minutes. Like, I do feel like they're still chasing. They're still chasing the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Like, they are still vying for it. So it is a brave call not to play Haaland. But could I also see Marmoush start, possibly? I could also see that happen. Remember, guys, less than half an hour until the deadline now. So, got to make sure we get the right team out. That's for sure. Make sure your teams are locked in and you're not missing it. Play Evan Nielsen or Anderson. I would play Anderson myself. I think it's a good fixture. Sell Rodgers now. I don't know if I can do that. Don't know if I can sell Rodgers. Just because he plays in the following game week. That's all. That's the only reason. That's the main reason. I just don't know if I can go there. And like I said, guys, defensively, like, I may even need Rodgers. Like, you know, I might need him. I might need Richards to come off the bench. But maybe this is the play. I just don't like it. Rodgers is just such a meh play, but he plays 90, I guess. Evan Nielsen has Burnley. Oh, I do agree on that. Evan Nielsen does have Burnley, and it is a great fixture. Evan Nielsen on penalties as well. Yeah, okay. Good shout. Thanks for calling me on that. I think Evan Nielsen, if you have Burnley, you do have to play him. I do agree on that. I just think Anderson is such a guaranteed 4-pointer, but that's probably a boring way of playing it. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep my team like this. I can't really get behind selling Haaland, personally. Sorry, I can't really get behind selling Haaland. So yeah, I think we're going to stick with that team. If Raya misses out, then, not ideal. But I do have to Bravker at home against Bournemouth, which isn't a terrible scenario to be in, I don't think. Don't think it's the worst world to be in. Appreciate it, Rahul, very much. Play Lafie, Pens, first bench, Rogers, second bench. Brian, Lafie not on Pens now, we think, because my understanding is Diarra's took the last two. Am I right? Guys in the chat, let me know. I'm pretty certain Diarra scored the last two, or taken the last two. If Lafie was on Pens, I would start him, legit. But my worry is that he is not on Pens. So Diarra took a penalty against Leeds, and Lafie was on the pitch, and I believe he's taken another one, but I might be wrong. Lafie took the penalty against Fulham, and Diarra was not on the pitch. Diarra got substituted, so Lafie's on Pens when Diarra gets subbed, but it doesn't look like, there is a chance that he is definitely. That's the only thing. So it's a little bit like, it's a bit of a hard one to call. The teaming screen is good. Thank you on that one. Hopefully it's the right play. But I really don't like Rodgers. But maybe Man United do struggle a little bit against Aston Villa. Aston Villa is still a good team, They're still a good team. KDH or Rodgers start, I would have to go for Rodgers in that one. Yeah. Like I said, guys, the only one that I have been deliberating, but it would force me into a what's it called? Then it would force me into a thing is Lafie to Tavernier. I like the play. I've got the money to do it. Tavernier comes in. I then bench Rodgers. But like I said, I'm then benching Rodgers for the sake of it. But it looks good. Tavernier then looks good for game week 31. Rodgers comes in there. And then I just do O'Reilly to Virgil. And I do Rice to Wilson. And the team looks like that. Which again looks good. That's a good team. Team picks itself. Virgil comes in there. And I still have 2 transfers to game week 32. So Lafie to Lafie to Tavernier does help things. I quite like that play. I do quite like that play. I do agree Taz fixtures are terrible afterwards, but if we look at my team for game week 32, and there's a good chance I might wildcard as an example, if I was to play this team, the issue is, of course, the team would look like that for game week 32. But I would have 2 free transfers in this position. So if I looked at the fixtures, it looks not bad. But look, end of the day, I think I am going to roll my transfer. Keep it as it is. Give myself 4 free transfers and loads of flexibility for the additional weeks. I think that's the play. Don't love it, but also don't really like any of the other moves. So I think we're going to stick with that, guys. One last roll of the dice on Rodgers, possibly. Who knows? I hate the guy, but it is what it is. If Lafie scores, I'll blame all you guys. I blame you guys. I think we're going to leave it. I think we are going to leave it there, guys. I do have to roll because I got football, unfortunately. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I think I'm pretty much locked in here. Captain 100% on Bruno Fernandes. I would start Elliot Anderson over Tarkowski 100% on that one there. I think we're going to stick with this. Rodgers against Man United. Man United might have a little bit of a slow start on that one. Lafie probably will punish me. It's always the way. But yeah, I think we're locked in on this. DCL, we don't know if he's going to start, unfortunately. So yeah, I think we're good on this, guys. We're going to keep it like that. Thanks so much for tuning in. If I change anything, I will let you know in the community section. Have a great game week. Enjoy your weekend, more importantly. And I will see you probably on Sunday evening going through some transfer plans for game week 31. Of course, it is a blank game week, so we've got to prep for it. Cheers, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.